All right, fellas. So we got a couple things to talk about tonight. We got the Dolphins with Jalen Waddle. We're going to touch a little bit on Kyler Murray's situation with the Vikings. We're going to touch on Justin Fields with the Chiefs. Lee, I know you wanted to talk about Taylor Green, and then I got a little something at the end. With the AJ Brown situation. So if you stick around till the end, you're gonna get that. Um, so the Dolphins traded Jalen Waddle. They traded a first, a third, and essentially a swap for a fourth, right? In this year's draft. So Jalen Waddle is 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 now on a team that I think and Lee offline, I know you said that he was off injured, right? And that he was. But I think, that he's probably going to make a splash this year, especially when you get traded to a new team, and you really like, okay, I wanted out of Miami anyway, and you know I'm in a new situation, and I think I'm gonna give. Okay, let me say this. Here's my prediction for Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle in the 2026 2027 season is going to be a breakout fantasy stud. A lot of people are going to be underestimating Jalen Waddle, but I think he's going to really show like he could and should have been a true number one receiver. I think Jalen is going to show a lot of people a lot of things, and I think this was just a good move for him to get out of Miami, man. I mean, let me know what y'all think about this.
I don't agree with that. I don't think was a true number one in Miami, not with Hill there. He's not better. He was not better
With
than
him,
Hill. Okay. So he was gonna always play Robin to Hill's Batman. And rightfully so. Hill is just on another level. Even at his age, right? Hill was still a better wide receiver and a more viable threat. Does he have the potential to break out with the Broncos? Yes, he does. He does have the potential for that to take place. But I still don't think it's warrant the amount that the Broncos gave up for him. Okay, so they gave up the first, they gave up the third, and then they swapped around. I don't see anything in Jalen Waddle's repertoire in the skill set that is above and beyond what a team cannot find in the draft. Okay, I don't. He's not that caliber of wide receiver in my eyes. When you have someone like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, like those type of guys, the build and the physical traits and the ceiling that those guys have, you you give up those type of that type of the picks and whatnot. You give it up for those type of guys. Jalen Waddle, there's a lot of Jalen Waddles in this draft, and then on top of that, well, I won't say a lot. I'm not disparaging, not a lot, but you can find a couple of Jalen Waddles in this draft. But the part that really kind of disturbs me in all this is his injury history, and you talked about that. All right. So he has a wide range. He has concussions, high ankle sprains, knee injuries, shoulder injuries, rib injuries throughout his entire career.
yeah.
Even last year, he couldn't complete the whole season. That's why he only ended up with like 940 some odd yards last season because he couldn't stay on the field. So when you get a guy that's dealing with nagging injuries and ailments like that throughout his entire career, you give up a first round pick in the third for that, then it doesn't make any sense to me. If he stays healthy, yeah, I think under Sean Payton in his system, he can go off. I just don't see why Sean couldn't have done that with another rookie wide receiver coming into this draft, picking at the end of the first. He could have ended up with like an Omar a Cooper or Denzel Boss, someone like that, put up some really good numbers. Probably not at the clip of what he would probably get at with a veteran Waddle, but he wouldn't have to give up so much in order to get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, couple things. It's essentially I'm gonna say glorified second. It's like the 30th pick. It's a first round pick, but it's way towards the end of the first round. So glorified second, glorified fourth. but still, you're giving up, two picks in the draft to get this guy who can make plays if he stays healthy. I don't see him being the linchpin for the wide receiver, the passing offense. Like usually those Sean Payton offenses, one dude is getting the ball and everybody else kind of feeds off that receiver. I don't see Waddle being that guy. And Sutton, I don't think was that guy. So maybe they're trying to bring him in to see, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think interesting aspects for this. I kind of feel bad for Malik Willis now because he ain't got no one to throw to in Miami. So they're gonna drop some people and drop some wide receivers for him, but like going in, getting decent money, but no targets currently. I mean, Tutu Atwell, I think Tolbert, like wide receiver threes, other wide receiver ones and twos right now. So, but I think the third interesting aspect for this trade is given that it was a first and a third. I call it glorified second and glorified fourth, but first and a third for Waddle. If you're trying to get a AJ Brown or you're trying to get a top-notch wide receiver, that asking price just went up. So now if you getting Waddle for a first and a third, you're probably talking at least two firsts? Two firsts for AJ?
Two
All right.
firsts.
So just jacking up.
Brown's got it.
Jacking up the price, right? But yeah, I don't know how much better this makes Denver, even if Waddle stays healthy. So, but and again, I guess they're trying to go for broke right now. With the trades, give it the first and the third, so bring in a veteran guy. I'd give it a B minus. I don't think it's I don't think it's a home run pick for them.
Yeah, and you had made a pretty good note there, Doc. Someone did also say something along the lines of the Miami Dolphins are now on the clock, right? They're tanking the next season, which this does put Malik Willis in a precarious situation now, right? Because you're thinking that they're betting on him. They have a salary friendly deal with him at the quarterback position, hoping for him to not just prove himself, but establish a long-term career with this organization. And it already seems as if they're looking for the next best thing. Or at least they're putting themselves in position for that. But look, it's good. That's good business.
Yeah.
That's good business. I get it, because you have to make sure that, you can't count your chickens. You got to make sure that you don't want to put all the eggs in one basket, whatever the vernaculars are, but you want to make sure that you put yourself in the best position to be able to capitalize off of this next draft. And I'm talking about not 2026, but 2027, that supposedly has a bounty of potential quarterbacks coming out. I get that. Still a bad go for Malik Willis, right? I think it's just a really horrible situation to be in. He doesn't have a lot of help. He still needs O-line help. You have A-Chan at the running back position. He's another player that doesn't always stay healthy. And then that defense is riddled, right? You got rid of Jalen Phillips, right? So it's like, it's not good. It's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't they still have the tight end? What's his name? Who's with the Raiders?
Waller.
Isn't Waller
Waller's
still
33.
He is up there. Yeah,
he's 33. Yeah. He's up there.
He's up there, and he's getting injured.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think, for Denver, like you said, Lee, both of y'all said it's great points. They could have get receivers at the end of this round. But I think with Sean Payton, he's probably like, it's going to take a receiver, unless you hit on a JSN type receiver or something like that. It's going to take a receiver a year or two to get up to speed. They was right there in the AFC, and maybe he's thinking Waddle could get them. Him and Cortland Sutton. He could get them to that next level. I don't know. But it's gonna be tough in that AFC with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs coming back. It's gonna be tough. So I don't know. But Doc, real quick, I just wanted to hit on this, man. I know with your Vikings, you got Kyler Murray in there, you got JJ McCarthy, right? I truly want to hear from you as a Vikings fan, and not just a fan, but a super fan. Like, What's your take on this? Is Kyler pretty much has the job, right? Is his to lose, I would say. If because I mean, we saw what JJ did, the sample size that he played. They can't be handing him the reins right now. That's why they brought in Kyler Murray to sort of kind of take control and run with it.
Yeah. So we got Kyler Murray, right? And let me get the context. I think when I was like 15 or 20, when I was 15 or 20, not really understanding how football go, and this trade happened, I'd be like, oh, this is gonna happen. Oh, I'd be awesome. Like, oh, Kyler Murray scrambling around, making throws, throwing to Justin Jefferson is gonna be great. Knowing what I know now, I am very cautiously, tepidly optimistic. One, Kyler's going to have to actually work to learn this offense. O'Connell does not call a simple offense. He wants to to have this quarterback centric. All five receivers are in play. Sean McVay like, Kyle Shanahan like, right? We want to throw the ball, and it's very quarterback centric. So if you don't study, if you don't know your reads, your progressions, what the defense is trying to do, and this is a quarterback who historically has talked about he don't put in the work. He like playing video games, and his cognitive abilities allow him to see stuff before it happens. And I haven't heard anything to say that he has turned over a new leaf, right? And it kind of bothers me that he signs this 1-year deal, super cheap for us because the Cardinals are paying him not to play for the Cardinals.
Right.
And he signs with us with a no tag clause. Like, I'm going to be so good this year that I want to make sure you guys can't tag me, franchise or transition tag, right? Like, that's very presumptuous of you. But anyway, that's your agent doing his job, and I get that, right? Second part that scares me is that as much as we consider O'Connell, quarterback whisperer, right? It's been Kirk Cousins and it's been Sam Darnold last year. All the other quarterbacks he's had, Wentz struggled, McCarthy struggled for 2 years in a row, Brosmer struggled. The Pastor had like 2 really good games, and then he kind of struggled. Like, he is not as much of a quarterback whisperer as he's given credit for. I do think he's a great offensive mind, but you need to have a quarterback who really understands the game and put in the work to process the stuff. So I think with McCarthy, the question with McCarthy is, one, can he stay healthy? And two, will the game slow down for him enough for him to pick up the offense? Like, towards the end, you can tell both for him and for Brosmer, O'Connell kind of simplified the offense and took things out to kind of just run the stuff that they were able to do and feel comfortable with. But we weren't playing with a full deck on offense, right? It was a very simplified, certain throws were taken out, certain routes were taken out, just like, we're just going to do what you're able to do, and we'll go with that. I wish he had done it sooner. So I think that makes him a better offensive play caller.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, if McCarthy can't do it this year in practice or in games, I think they're going to wash their hands of McCarthy. I just don't know how much further we're going to get with Kyler Murray. Like, if Kyler Murray goes in and puts in the work that Baker Mayfield did when he changed teams, that Sam Darnold did when he left San Francisco and then came to the Minnesota, then we're talking probably at least playoffs. I'm not going to say further than that, but at least playoffs. But if Kyler's going to come in and still use whatever invisible juice he still got, I don't think we're going to go very far. That's my take. That's my concern about Kyler Murray.
Yeah, that's all valid. If he puts in the work, I think you guys are definitely going to be in good shape.
The thing is, it's a big if, but yes.
Yeah. When you look at the list of quarterbacks that have been there, quarterbacks that has played with Justin Jefferson, I'm just looking at it from that lens right now, because Justin Jefferson, his stats and his production is otherworldly compared, when you really take into consideration who he's working with. Let's see, we got Kirk Cousins, Jared Hall, Joshua Dobbs, Max Brosmer, JJ McCarthy, Carson Wentz.
Shoot.
Right. That's the list of quarterbacks that he's been playing with. And he's still putting up Hall of Fame numbers, setting records at the wide receiver position. Kyler Murray, in my estimate, he's better than all those quarterbacks. Potentially, his potential is
Yes.
much better than all of those quarterbacks.
Yes.
So if he does put in the work, if he studies and he gets the game plan down, I think production wise they're going to be okay. But in terms of getting you guys over the hump, whatever that means, I'm guessing like what, making you guys Super Bowl contenders. Is that what you're looking at, Doc?
Not anymore.
No.
No, but
But what's this? What would you like to see happen with
no.
Kyler
So
Murray at the quarterback position?
so I honestly think if he puts in the work, right? Because he doesn't no different than what Sam Darnold was doing. Like you don't have to carry the team, right? You need to distribute the ball to the playmakers, and then if we can get an explosive running back, then all of a sudden that offense, and we don't turn the ball over because our defense will put us in some good positions, right? We just need Kyler to come in and make some plays on script or off script, but actually like know what's supposed to be going on. And then if he can get a productive running back with the weapons we have at wide receiver and tight end, and with the defense and the defensive coordinator, we got an outside chance, right? Like, I mean, we got an outside chance, right? But if he isn't putting the work, we ain't going nowhere. Like that's the difference between going 13-4 and going like 9-8. Is him putting in the work. So,
Yeah.
I think he's forced in a position right now where he's going to have to put in the work.
Yeah. I mean, you lose your job and you get shipped out of Arizona, where you was a first round draft pick, and they don't believe in you anymore, and you didn't do anything. I mean, I would think at this point you should say, okay, I'm going somewhere new. I'm on a 1-year contract. Let me show out. Let me do something where I could really show what I am capable of, and then maybe after that, hey, Vikings decide, hey, we want to extend you, or some other team decide, hey, we want to take a shot at Kyler Murray. So it behooves him this season to truly step it up and get in that system and do what he got to do. So remains to
if
be
he ain't
seen.
gonna put in the work, if he ain't gonna put in the work this year, he gonna never put in the work.
You've done exactly.
Very true. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So speaking of other quarterbacks, with potential, Justin Fields, man. Justin Fields in Chicago was in a system where I always believed in Justin Fields. I was watching Justin Fields since high school, right? So I go ahead.
He was with the Jets last.
With the Jets, right? But I'm just saying, from when he was with Chicago.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because I was watching him in high school, I was like, this kid has something. When he was in Georgia and he left and went to Ohio State, I was like, okay, all right, he's doing his thing. I was watching him. I was like, okay, he's making the NFL. Made the NFL. He was in there. Didn't work out in Chicago. Went to Pittsburgh. Didn't work out in Pittsburgh. Went to the Jets. Yeah. It's with the Jets. And so now he's with Kansas City. Andy Reid decides, look, I'm gonna take a chance on this kid. I'm gonna bring him in. I think Andy also sees the potential that Justin Fields has, and Andy wants to mold him into a really good quarterback that could back up Patrick Mahomes, or even he get to the point where he could use him as trade bait next year if he elevates his game to a level where I think he can be. And I think Andy Reid sees that also. So him in Kansas City, I think it's a good move for him. I wish the best for him, man. I wish the best for him. He's learning behind one of the best quarterbacks, future Hall of Famer Patrick Mahomes. So if he really soaks all of that up, man, he could and learn from Andy and does what he has to do. I think he could really make his potential there in Kansas City and beyond.
I am extremely happy for Justin Fields that he is with Kansas City and with Andy Reid. I had talked about, quarterback whisperers and folks getting that moniker, but you don't really see it. Andy Reid is a quarterback whisperer. I don't think there's ever been a quarterback who has not looked good. In Coy Detmer, Nick Foles, right? Donovan McNabb, Alex Smith, and of course Patrick Mahomes. But like all the quarterbacks he has had have looked good. There's never been a time where it's like, man, that quarterback is not playing well. Like what's going on with the Philadelphia or Kansas City offense? And what he did with Michael Vick, when Michael Vick came back, running quarterback, and he had Michael Vick like literally playing like it was a video game that season. Um, and I'm not trying to put that as the expectation for Justin Fields, but if there's a coach that can get true productivity out of Justin Fields, because realize only three quarterbacks that ever run for 1,000 yards in a season: Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson, and Justin Fields. And he's probably not quite as fast as he used to be, but he's still pretty athletic, right? So knowing that he can scoot and pick up some first downs running the ball, if he's able to learn that Andy Reid offense and make some throws and really understand the game, because I just don't think he's really been on any team where the head coach or the OC knew how to call plays and communicate what the philosophy and the progression is for the quarterback. That's in Chicago. That's the year in Pittsburgh, and I love Tomlin as a head coach, but I think they had Arthur Smith probably that year as the OC, and then with the Jets, right? So like he's now with like the guy. If there's ever going to be a team for him to get better, this is the team to be on. There's an outside chance he starts. Not that he beats out Mahomes, but Mahomes may coming
Not
back
be
from the
ready.
ACL
Yep.
tear. If he's looking good in preseason, OTAs in preseason, they may just pump the brakes and let Justin Fields start a couple of games until they feel 100% confident in that knee. Then you bring in Mahomes, and as you alluded to, those couple of games would increase the trade value if they decide to trade him versus keep him.
And they got Eric Bieniemy back.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
big. That's big. This is his last shot. This is his last shot. If he doesn't get it done, and what I mean by get it done, like have a renaissance, like a change in his career, reversing fortune now with the Chiefs, it's not going to happen anywhere else. I don't believe. We know that he's full of potential. Like you said, Lynx, he had a really good start, I believe, with the Bears. It didn't result in a lot of wins, but you saw what he was capable of when put in a position to really accentuate his gifts and his talents. And we were hoping to see some sort of maturity with his acumen at the quarterback position. That was something that we just didn't see. He's had ample opportunities in different spots to do that, albeit, we look at the Jets and that situation it was atrocious. It was abysmal. I get that. He was with the Steelers. He did have a chance to start, right, over Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson got hurt. So he had opportunities there. Tomlin's not a quarterback whisperer, but he still had an opportunity to
Agreed.
do something, and we didn't quite see the growth that we were looking for. Now he gets another reset. He's with Andy. He gets to sit, like Doc said, he gets to learn behind Patrick Mahomes, one of the best in the business, one of the best to ever do it. And now he gets to take these first team reps all off season, first team reps. So he's going to get a lot of information thrown at him, a lot of opportunity and time to relearn the craft, learn it in a way that it's going to be highly productive and potentially maximize what he can possibly do. If it doesn't happen now, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. That's a great take on that one. That's yeah, that'd be it for him. Lee, Taylor Green. I know you was talking about him, and he say he's a QB. He's a QB, and in the NFL, he wants to be drafted as a QB. He's not switching no positions. He's not going anywhere. I'm not trying to switch no positions. I'm trying to be a QB, and that's what it was. So I asked you, because I know you deep and you watch the combine, and so I was asking you about did he participate in the passing drills at at the combine, and break that down for us, man. Just talk to us about Taylor Green. What's he talking about here?
Yeah, he's a 4-year start, I believe. Well, not 4 years. He's been there for 4 years at Arkansas, SEC. Career there, like 60% completion rate. He had pretty decent yards. I don't think he ever eclipsed over 21 passing touchdowns in a season. And he had significant, interceptions. His last year and the year before last. He wants to play quarterback. And that he's well within his rights to say everything that he just said. He is a quarterback, and he should be drafted as such. I have no qualms there. The problem that I have, or what I find very interesting, is that he was on the RG3 podcast a couple of days ago, and he threw out there that teams are inquiring about him playing another position. Now, everything I just said about him as a quarterback, he threw at the combine. He was inconsistent at best, right? So it kind of shown what the tape showed, even with, just in a t-shirt and shorts, thrown against air, his ball was still it wasn't consistently on target. Okay, so that tells me there's still a lot of work to be done with his mechanics and with him learning that position. Therefore, he's going to be a lower round pick coming into this draft as a quarterback. But that's not the only thing he did in the combine. Okay, so now he's about 6'5", 6'6", like 220 pounds. He looks the part. He ran a 4.3. His vertical was a 43.5-inch vertical. Okay, and he had an 11-foot 2-inch broad jump. He beat out most wide receivers and running backs, right, in those events. So of course, teams are gonna you look like you could play another position. Okay, that just makes common sense to ask and inquire about that. But he goes to RG3 and he feels like people are asking him because of, he feels it's a racial thing. And I'm like, dude, that has nothing to do with race at all. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin, has nothing to do with your ethnic background. You went out there and you blew it up, right, in those skilled events. And everything that you did, if I was to just if you didn't know who he was and you read out his stats, you would think that he was a wide receiver. No one would think that he was a quarterback with those type of numbers. Now, if he had the quarterback performance to back that up and say, well, you put up like a Lamar Jackson type season, right? You put up an RG3 type season when he was in Baylor, then I could see him having that type of an issue. But those two guys, they won the Heisman as a quarterback. And they had the arm and the talent to be able to back it up, even when they went to the pros, albeit RG3 was for a limited amount of time due to injuries. But you don't have the arm talent. You didn't show any consistency during the combine. So for you to try to throw that out there to make it to perceive as if it has anything to do with your race, I just don't agree with that. I don't agree with it. I still think he should be drafted as a quarterback, but now you need to be drafted in the right slot, okay? Because if teams were looking at you and say, hey, maybe he can do this, you would probably be a 4th-round pick, a 3rd-round pick even. But if you want to stay at that quarterback position and you don't want to entertain any other role with a team, you're going to be a 6th or 7th-round pick at best. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's going to get drafted because of those intangibles. Mm. But if you put those intangibles and let's say we put that in a vacuum, we're not even going to consider that, and let's pretend like he didn't even have those traits, he wouldn't be drafted in this year's draft. He would be a rookie free agent.
Yeah, real quick, I'm interested, Doc. We can jump over to you in a second, but I'm interestedly like, what did RG3 say? But when he was saying this, what did RG3 kind of course correct him, or did RG3 just go with it?
He went with it, which was disappointing.
Yeah.
He went with it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He totally went with it, and I'm like, dude, you guys are not the same. Your careers were not the same.
Yeah.
You can't compare that. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I just wanted to see if he was
he gaslit him.
He gaslit
him.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Yeah.
Oh man, when you have the Lamar Jacksons, the Michael Vicks, where we know them the beginning of the college football season, watching them all through the season, right? Getting the Heisman trophies, the RG3s. We only know about this guy in essence because of what he did at the combine, and not from him throwing, right? And he didn't go to San Diego State or Montana, right? This is Arkansas. It's SEC. If he was playing well, the world would know. right? So he has these great athletic stats, but the tape and him at the combine passing confirms what the tape says. And we've talked about the combine. If I don't know you before the combine, I'm not trying to hype you up after the combine. So
Yeah.
there may be some team that picks him in the fifth or sixth as a feeler to try to see, if only, right? All things being equal with the athleticism, he'd be great at quarterback. All things being equal, if he plays another position, that'd be great there too. Wide receiver, running back, tight end. Let's see what he can do. But them asking him if he's, potential to play another position. I mean, I think they asked Steve Young that coming out of BYU, right? Like when you put up those kind of numbers athletically, folks are going to inquire, are there other positions you're interested in playing, especially if you're struggling, quote unquote, at the quarterback position going into the pros.
And I would consider it a compliment actually, because if they look at you as a you could be sort of a Swiss Army knife kind of player where you could play another position, and at some point in games they could use you as a trick play kind of thing. You played quarterback before, that kind of thing. So I would see it as a compliment.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I don't blame him for just wanting to play the position. That's not
Right. Yeah.
not what I'm calling out here, right? If that's what he wants to do and that's what he wants to play, I think he has earned the right to just say, look, I'm only going to play this position.
Right.
And I fully support that.
Yeah.
I think any college athlete coming into this draft, if that's a position that you've put all your blood, sweat, and tears in, and you going into this draft, you want to be seen as that's what you should do. What I don't agree with is him speculating that these teams are asking him to play or wanting to see if he wants to play another position just because he's black.
Yeah.
That's what I don't agree with.
Yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. Yeah. So all right, go ahead, Doc.
You got Julian Edelman, Taysom Hill, right? Matt Jones back in the day, Scott Frost back in the day, right? You got all these guys who was asked, they not just asked, but they changed their positions and they had a pretty decent career in the NFL. And they're all white.
Yeah, they happen
They're all
to
white.
Yeah.
They all happen to be white.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is true.
So
That's true. Yeah, I mean you can't argue there. So okay, I'm going down I was going down Daniel Jeremiah's 2026 NFL mock draft, right? 3.0. Everybody know, Fernando Mendoza, they got him going number one. But I look down and I go down and I want to see where the Los Angeles Rams are picking. Because I know the Los Angeles Rams got 2 first-round picks, right? Y'all got 2 first-round picks, all right?
We got one now.
You got one now because you did,
one. Yeah.
So you got one, right? So because with the cornerback, okay, yeah. So and y'all are picking number 13. Y'all picking right now. Daniel Jeremiah have y'all slated. Now I want to hear from you, Lee, but they have y'all slated to pick Makai Lemon, USC wide receiver. So why don't y'all just leave AJ Brown alone? I mean, y'all slated to pick a wide receiver in the draft. Just leave AJ Brown alone, man. Why y'all need to be messing around with AJ Brown? Leave AJ Brown where he is. Let him go. If he want to go, let him go to New England or somewhere over there like that. I can't have him going to the Rams. Y'all need to pick my man right here, number 13. Makai Lemon, USC. I think y'all will be good. Nice young prospect, man.
So one thing you gotta know about the Rams organization links, and I think it stems even from the owner, Stan Kroenke, right? He's a philanthropist. He's always trying to extend and help, people and organizations, good causes, right? When you see an injustice being done and you see underprivileged, situations happening, you want to extend your hand and you want to help. You really want to help. Right? When you see a player with Hall of Fame qualities just being underutilized, right?
Yeah.
Just being just thrown to the wayside. It's like, seeing someone on the side of the street, just they need water, right? They want some food. They need some, some change, maybe a place to stay, right? So you extend the help to that person, to that individual, to that organization to right or wrong. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is. They are trying to help free AJ Brown. That's all this is about. And we would sacrifice, because you're right, we could just go out there and pick up a wide receiver in this draft at the 13th pick out the goodness of our heart, right? We say, you know what? Forget those picks. Forget the pick. Here, take the pick and let's help this young man, right? Reaffirm and establish his Hall of Fame career. That's all we're trying to do. That's all we're trying to do.
Philanthropy at work.
At its best. At its best.
I got you.
That's my answer. That's my answer to that question.
Free Arthur Juan.
Free him.
Let me see where New England picking. New England picking 31. New England picking 31.
That's worse than the Broncos.
Yeah, send him down there to New England, man.
It's the same two numbers, but when you flip it around, it ain't nearly as good as that 1-3.
There you go, Doc. There you go. Same two numbers.
Hey, look, I know it's looking good. But you know, on a note, AJ Brown, you know, Lee, I think you asked me this before. What was my percentage on seeing if AJ Brown was going to stay or not? And I said like 80-85%, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
that's gone down.
Yeah,
you know, I'm somewhere now. I'm 50-50. I don't know if he stays. I don't know if he goes. I'm kind of 50-50. I think, you know, his agent has been doing a great job putting feelers out there, talking to folks, letting them know where AJ is, et cetera, seeing what, you know, kind of compensation. And I think Howie is also doing a great job of being staunch and kind of like holding him kind of hostage until that June 1st. Since the Eagles made a couple moves, then now the salary cap is looking a little bit better. And so after June 1, I think you're gonna see a move for AJ. I think based on what I'm seeing, he does not want to be there, and so that number has gone down about 50%. So I think he will be gone, but it's definitely going to be after June 1st for sure.
And I think it's important to note it has nothing to do with Philly or the city or the team or the fans. I'm pretty sure AJ loves that place. I put this all on Nick Sirianni.
Nick Sirianni, yeah. I think when you talk about coaches or someone that's on the hot seat, it's Nick Sirianni. You know, he has not a season, he has games. He has games left, because I think the Eagles didn't make the move to get these two offensive coordinators for nothing. I think you know, one of them will replace Nick Sirianni if things aren't panning out after the first couple games. I think he'll be gone for sure.
Yeah,
he'll be gone. So, all right. We'll see where things go, man. You know, things are happening slowly. I mean, it was happening quickly because Adam Schefter was blowing up my phone like every other day. Every minute, Adam Schefter. So you got this stuff still going on, so we can keep track of what's going on. See what other transactions are made, and we'll catch up on the next one and let everybody know what it is, man.
Cool. All right, guys.
All right. Cool. Later.